Morning, everyone. Can you still hear me okay? Someone just sent me a message. And again, I don't know if you guys can unmute yourself or not yet, but just stay muted. What we'll do at the end, I'll open it up for questions. You can ask your questions as we go. Also, okay, great. Thanks, Peter. So you can type in a question. I'll kind of keep an eye on them and answer them as I go. I don't think I have anyone on here that can help with the questions on my end. So someone may join later, but again, I'll get to them. But so again, yeah, thanks for attending. So just going to talk about the Smart Multi, just a refresher, basically, overview on it, some of the tools, and then settings and just stuff. Addressing still seems to be a common thing that people kind of struggle with on this, but I guess it's because, right, new people come into the product and maybe this is the first time they're installing it. But again, the addressing, just getting it backwards or not even setting it at all seem to be pretty common. Wiring, always seems like always an issue. But anyway, yeah, thanks for attending. Again, I'm David Wood. I'm out of the Oregon area. So let's get started on this, guys. Okay. All right. So yeah, again, refresher, right? So resources. Again, mylinkdrive.com. That's where all our tools are at. Tools, service manuals, submittal, everything for us. So again, don't forget about that. And if you haven't been there for a while, or maybe you didn't notice this, I probably a couple of months ago, I discovered this Diamond product finder. So when you go to the MyLinkDrive page, look for that Diamond product finder tab, you click on it, it opens up, and then you select this. So some of you may have found this, maybe not, but it's kind of a handy little tool. Once you click on it, it opens up and it has this product finder, how it works, kind of talks about it. So again, it's a tool that to help you choose the right Mitsubishi system based on your project needs. So again, you're still doing your heat loss gain calculations. And then again, using this program to dial in and look at the different products and kind of use this tool. So again, select options and you just kind of click through the tabs, which I have a picture here of what it looks like. And this is what, when you do that, so here it is, zoning. It kind of gives you, okay, single zone or multi-zone option. Once you pick that, it says, okay, what's your capacity of your outdoor unit? And when you select the capacity, then it kind of gives you limited choices at that point, basically a hyperheat version or a standard heat pump. It may already have the options selected here, so you can't really pick that. But if you pick a model to where it's giving you hyperheat or standard, you'll kind of have like -13 or 6 degree as a tab to select. Then the cooling minimum temperature, again, that's based on what the model is. And if you have a wind baffle, right, the wind baffles give us a capability of that cooling down to, -40. We can on with the wind baffle on some systems. Usually it's P series. And then you can go through and kind of narrow down, okay, I know I want to use a wall unit, ducted, air handler, etc. So you just step through it. And it just basically, as you click on these over to the right over here, it pops up a picture of what the unit looks like. So again, just kind of making you aware of this tool. So again, once you get into MyLinkDrive and you're looking for a piece of equipment, outdoor unit is what you select in this scenario right here. And then once you pick the outdoor unit under like the Smart Multi, it brings up your choices. And here's your standards right here, obviously, right? The SM36 non-hypers, and then here's your hyperheats. So just a reminder again, selecting the model that you're looking for the particular document, manual, etc. And again, you'll have, submittals and other, the submittal is a good thing where you can kind of get your features and benefits like I have here. And again, that's our VRF technology. The Smart Multi is available in the 3, 4, and 5 ton single phase power. Connectable from, again, 50% to 130% capacity. So again, that's just, it may change based on the particular model, but they're all going to have a range of, hey, if I'm picking a 3-ton unit, I have to have a minimum of 1 ton connected, to it, or 2 ton, etc. So that's where you can kind of find that connectability capacity there. Again, if you're using this as a commercial, or that's our term, we're kind of using these as commercial or residential. So if you're installing the Smart Multi as a commercial unit, you can have from 9 to 12 units installed on that system. If you're taking that same Smart Multi outdoor unit and you're going to install it residentially with the branch box, then you're going to be limited to 8, right? Because we can only do, 8 units in that scenario on the branch box. Commercial, right? We're using pipes and tees, not using a branch box. Residentially, installing that same unit, we're using a branch box. And then indoor and outdoor units are powered separately when we're doing that commercially. And we'll kind of go through that coming up, kind of go through the wiring differences and how it looks. So again, when you're under the outdoor unit, don't forget the accessories tab. It's like right under, let me go back here. When you get to this point here and you pick this unit, usually the first thing that comes up is the accessories tab. And that's a good place. A lot of people struggle to find, hey, does this particular model have a wind baffle or something available for it? That's the quickest way, going under the unit, under accessories, and then getting a picture. And usually what they're showing right here is exactly the part number you need for that particular unit. So don't go, sometimes people go to the accessories, and when you get into MyLink Drive in the separate area and you click on the accessory, and then you got to find, okay, what model is this accessory for? So it's a little more work. It's harder to do. So I'm telling you, do it this way. And all these products here pertain to that model. I would still double check, right? I'd click on this. Once I get this number, I would kind of click on this and look and read into it and make sure your model is listed. Sometimes you can, right? There's always a typo or something that can happen. So again, this is what our systems look like. You have your main components, right? Outdoor unit. That Smart Multi outdoor unit you're going to install as a commercial unit, and you can use your pipes and tees. Standard tees here, or you can get a branch header, kind of like they're showing right here, or you're going to install that same outdoor unit with a branch box, plus your indoor equipment, plus some type of controller. 4 main components, right, of our system. Okay, so let's talk compatibility. So that finder tool I kind of showed you at the beginning, that's one way to kind of get a compatibility and narrow it down. With these systems, the Smart Multi, 100% of the time, we recommend Diamond System Builder program. So again, that's going to give you, right, that's the tool we use for lots of things, submitting the warranty, compatibility tool. It's for our calculating our additional charge. So again, under software on MyLink Drive, when you click software, you cycle down, I think it's halfway down the page, and look for that tool. Excuse me. So, and then download that program. And when you download it, right, if you guys are familiar with it, this is something you already you have seen before. If not, this is what it can do for you in the program. So we build out the program, or build out the job, the build, with the equipment, the outdoor unit. We select, if we're going to use, in this case, this is the Smart Multi, and we're using pipes and tees, as you can see, no branch box. And we're just laying this out for this particular branch here. This may be, upstairs, downstairs scenario, or just trying to add 8 units. And again, putting our indoor equipment in here on this header, and then on this one, etc. You don't have to do a 4 branch header. I could just eliminate this T and just do an 8 branch header. So I just kind of did it this way to show the difference with the branch box and without. You'll see in the next page, but But again, see right here, as you pick this equipment, it gives you our pipe sizes for us. Right, so we know our piping size, and then as I put this together and we start running the piping, then we start popping in our footages here and etc. And again, on this Smart Multi, when you install that system as a commercial unit, you can look over here, right? We have access to that 4,000 BTU wall unit. You don't have that capability on the, if you install it with the branch box. The smallest head we have is a 6, right? So when you get to this is, installed as a City Multi unit, and you get the City Multi indoor equipment at this point, and you get the capability of have that 4,000, which would be pretty handy for the small bedrooms, right? Where we're oversizing them with 6s and 9s. So again, here's the same outdoor unit, just installed like the term we're using, right? Residentially. And we have the branch box, and then we're using our M series indoor units, as you see, right? MXZ FS06, that's the smallest indoor wall head we can use on it. And then our SVZ air handler. So again, you got to recognize, right? Different. That's M series indoor equipment with the branch box. I'm going to go back a slide. Here's the same outdoor unit installed commercially, and we're using our PKFY, 4 letters. That's our City Multi indoor equipment. It's either or, can't mix them. Okay, controls compatibility. Just a reminder again on my link drive, if you're, that's a big thing too, right? It's what controls can I use with the particular indoor unit? It's kind of nice to know ahead of time before you get out to the job and find out it doesn't come with a controller or which type you need, right? So under controls, you have this compatibility charts, and you click on these charts, based on M series, P, or City Multi, and it opens up these particular charts. So I use these pretty often when guys are asking, because not all of the equipment is capable of, let's say like the MHK2 or Kumo or something, because our older equipment didn't really have that CN105 connector on them. So we didn't know if it doesn't have that connector, then we cannot do it. And this is kind of handy for that. And again, you just simply, let's go down here. So here's an air handler, PVFY. Make sure it matches exactly NAMU, because we have the FU, NFMU. And then you can see multi-positional air handler. Okay, is the MHK2 available? So again, certain models, because this is an older air handler, so it says, okay, if you have the E00A, yes, the B, yes, and then they have this AZZB, tells you if it's compatible with Arizona, etc. But for example, see, it may say if it's a -E, no, it's not compatible. It doesn't have CN105 on the board because this is an older unit. So again, wired Mitsubishi controllers. So that's what this chart's good for. Up here at the top though, so look at here, ducted. It will tell you, actually, that's not this chart, the M series chart up in this area will tell you it comes with no controller, or it'll tell you if it comes with a controller up in this area. On the City Multi, again, these units, none of them come with a controller. That's the second page of that same document right here. So again, controls compatibility chart. That's one way to find the controls. Another way to do it is if you're in the Diamond System Builder program, it has a controls tab. And when you click on it, it brings up this right here. And this is the indoor unit in that build that we put together. And it brings up, here's a list of my controllers. And I can, from this program, I could take, okay, click on one of these controllers and it'll put it over in this area. That tells me it's compatible also. So again, that's if you're in the Diamond System Builder, because on those jobs, I usually build the file all the way out, put the controls in there, everything, footages, job name. You may have to be, this might be a job you're going to register for the extended warranty commercially. And then you have to go through that Diamond System Builder program and finish it out. So again, yeah, controls chart. So just kind of refresher here, controls available. There's probably some on here that are some new ones that are not in this list. But so yeah, wired handheld remote with the receiver. This is kind of an old school option, which is not, we don't use it that much anymore. Again, Mitsubishi, the PAR 40 controller. So these are all our wired Mitsubishi controllers, a Smart ME, then our simple MA controller. So basically, right, all commercial controllers pretty much here, except the PAR 40. That's using that on the residential side. But these down here, pretty much commercial side. So again, controls using the CN105. Most of our, like I said, all our indoor newer equipment we have the CN105, so it's capable of this. But so again, Kumo, MHK2. This is our new wired interface, right? The PAC US 445 with any third-party thermostat. And again, if you're new to the 445, it comes with this adapter. If that adapter's for the IntelliHeat coil only, if you're installing this on something else besides the IntelliHeat coil, you're going to have an extra harness that you're not going to use. Yeah, I'd say be aware too, if the dip switches on the 444 and the 445 are different. So don't assume the settings you did before on the 444 are going to be the same switches going forward. Read the manual. Of course, we change dip switch settings, right? We got to throw a curveball every now and then to keep you guys thinking. So we didn't make the switches the same. So some of them may be, but. And again, if you're going to do, you install this Smart Multi, you have the capability of, these are our central controllers, right? For commercial. Or if you want to do like the TC24 is kind of common for the, the higher end residential, if they want some type of, scheduling capability at one location. The other controllers here are just more expensive, right? Used on the commercial side. But they have the capability of that. So again, let's talk function settings. So just, be aware. If you're installing the Smart Multi residentially, then the function settings are done through the controller, like you guys are already used to, right? Nothing new there. Go to the installer manual of the piece of equipment you're installing, or the manual for the controller, and you go to the function code settings, and then you can find, like for example, mode 25. We want to stop our fan when it's thermal off and when it's not heating. Pretty common setting to stop the fan because the customer doesn't want the fan running all the time. So again, that's a mode setting. Function setting you do through the MHK2, you do through Kumo, etc. So same equipment as far as the outdoor unit, but you're installing it commercially, right? So we have, let's say, a PVFY air handler. We don't have function settings through the controller. You have to do dip switch changes on the piece of equipment. And that's kind of what we're showing right here. So again, installer manuals that are provided with the equipment, you guys got to be making sure you're going into those. That's where you're going to find this stuff, right? So for example, SW1-1, that switch needs to be on to sense temperature at the remote controller. Usually that function setting you do right on if we're doing an SVZ air handler, you're doing that through your function codes. That's mode 2, setting 3 usually. This is a dip switch change on the air handler you have to do the same thing. So that's the difference. And same thing for like your thermal fan off settings and heating and cooling, etc. That's what these are down here. So dip switch changes. Along with you, let's say you're doing a heat kit on that PVFY. That normally those are settings we're doing through the controller, MHK2, etc. Those are, as you look right here, these are dip switches of the indoor unit, SW3-2, SW3-4, and those have to be on to tell it heater available on, defrost, etc. So again, those are dip switch changes. Also, this is the outdoor unit. So probably a lot of guys are missing this one. SW5-4 on the outdoor unit has to be on before you turn on power. And it says turn on when an auxiliary heater is connected. It transmits a connection permission signal of the auxiliary heater to the connected city multi indoor unit. So along with the switches for the indoor unit, let me back up right here. You have to turn on SW5-4. So manual comes with the, that's going to be in the outdoor service manual there, or outdoor install manual. They may have a reference of it in the indoor manual also. Okay. Best practices. Let's just go over that again, right? Power wire. So minimum 600 volt rated copper conductor wire, properly grounded, fused, proper breakers, energized 12 hours before starting the equipment, preferred, right? So that's right. So we can have voltage trickling to the compressor, basically our crankcase heater. So we can heat up that compressor before we start it. That's the goal there. Get the liquid refrigerant out of the compressor. Control wiring, so 16 gauge stranded 2 conductor shielded cable. So again, we'll kind of review this here. So again, our control wiring is our communication wiring, 2 inches away from power. Leave a service loop at the indoor and outdoor, right? Just have some extra wiring in case we got to drop a control panel like on the indoor equipment, and drop the panel down so we can get the board out of there. If there's no flexibility, then we're going to have to disconnect the wiring. So again, types of wiring connections. So again, power wire, so operates the outdoor and indoor units. So our single phase 208, 230 volt wire. Our control wiring, so a smart multi outdoor system we're installing as a commercial unit. So that's going to be our communication wire between all the equipment, outdoor units, indoor units, etc. That has to be 16 gauge wires, 2 conductors, stranded shielded cable for that communication. Control wiring residential, probably more common to this, right? That's where our 16 gauge wire, 2 conductors, that's going to be the same wire I was just talking about. And that's our communication from our outdoor unit to our branch box. That's our M1 and M2 and shielded connections that we communicate and talk with, right? Outdoor unit talks to the indoor unit, and then this 16-4 wire that you go from the branch box to the indoor units. That's our S1, S2, S3 wiring. That can be solid or stranded. Doesn't have to be shielded. And again, that's what's talking with the indoor equipment. So just looking at Mike question. So there are dip switches in the indoor unit, yes, and the outdoor unit, yes. And the stat, no, not on the stat. 2 places. So again, if you're installing that, depends if you're doing it commercially or residentially. So yeah, if you're doing that system residentially, then your settings are going to be through your MHK2, your function settings, right? You can do that through your MHK2 controller. There still may be, there's going to be a dip switch you're going to have to change at the outdoor unit. We're coming to that. So yeah, in your case, Mike, there's going to be a dip switch at the outdoor you have to turn on, and you'll do your function settings through the controller. When you get to the, installing it as a commercial system, again, most of it's going to be dip switches in the indoor and outdoor unit. There may be some device settings or other settings you can set through the MHK2, but it's not going to be like your function settings and stuff for the setup. So again, best case scenario check, right? You're going to go through and set your dips. And then when you're done on that, go through your controller and see what function settings come up through the controller. Because there are some. So again, wiring, so that's the power wiring, control wiring, and control wiring residential. So let's get a picture of what this looks like. This is a great example of the whole snapshot of a system. So central controller, right? If you had a central controller and we're going to use it, that wires directly to the outdoor unit on the TB7 terminal. That's all that's used for. If you're not going to have this, then that wiring terminal is going to be open, which is probably the case for most of you. The TB3 terminal, that's TB3 is our M1, M2 terminals. I got a picture of that coming up. And that's what we're wiring for from our outdoor unit to our first indoor unit on the TB5 terminal. And then if we have a second unit, third unit, fourth, fifth, then that's where we're just daisy chaining that wiring, right? That's just the communication circuit. And then if we have controllers, again, depending on the controller, that determines what terminal it wires to. So for example, don't look at the ME controllers, again, pretty much done on the commercial side, not on the residential side as much, but those wire to TB5. You know, if it's a PAR 40 or like this simple MA controller, it's going to wire to TB15 terminal. And in this case, what they're kind of doing here is they want to control 2 units with 1 stat. That's how you do it commercially. Wired Mitsubishi controller. Okay, let's look at the wiring, power wiring connections commercially again. That's our term we're going to use for this. So Smart Multi outdoor unit installed with our branch box and our city multi indoor equipment. So take the outdoor unit right here, right? Here's our power, single phase power, 208, 230 volt power directly to the unit from the panel, right? From your disconnect switch. You're going to have M1, M2 terminals on the outdoor unit. That's going to be our 16.2 shielded stranded wire. And that goes to our first indoor unit on that TB5 terminal, right? Marked by M1 and M2. So it's not polarity sensitive either. So if you're getting that 2 conductor wire and it's red and black, it's not polarity sensitive. So I would just keep it straight. If you're going to start out, M1 red, M2 black, let's just keep that pattern throughout. Makes sense. But if it gets swapped, it's not a problem. Hit the first indoor unit, and then we daisy chain that control wiring to the second. So that's our communication circuit. And then you can see up here, that's our single phase power, 208, 230, landed on L1, L2 of that indoor unit. So separate power from this indoor unit and the outdoor, 2 circuits. Now you can do multiple, that one circuit can power multiple indoor units. So again, there's not much power draw on these units. We're just running a fan motor in there. Depending on the unit, it can be less than 1 amp. So you can get a 2-pole 20 amp breaker, and you could do multiple indoors off that one circuit. Okay, so power wiring connections residentially. So again, what we do here, outdoor unit. So that gets our L1, L2 power. And then we have our MNet connections just like before that we're going to wire to our branch box M1, M2 terminals. So that's our communication circuit. Branch box it needs power. So it has L1, L2, and you can get that from the outdoor unit. I got a picture coming up showing the terminals, right? You guys are probably pretty familiar with that already. So we're going to power the branch box off the outdoor unit in most cases. And then on the branch box, you have your S1, 2, and 3 terminals, and that's for your wires that communicate and power the indoor equipment. And this is what it looks like down here. Outdoor equipment, L1, L2, that's our power. And then we're going to power from the outdoor unit, our branch box. And then this is our communication circuit, right? Just like before. Our 16.2 shielded stranded wire, M1, M2 from outdoor to branch box. And then from there, that's our communication wiring and power for our indoor equipment on our S1, 2, and 3. 16.4, let's call that, right? 3 with a ground, not 14. right? You just keep those two slides straight right there. Let me back up again, right? Commercially, residentially, and that's it. So again, then, okay, addressing, right? We got to make this equipment, we have to address it so it's talking. If it generates an error code, it can target an address. Some of the equipment, actually this equipment will run not addressed. You could get into, you know, maybe some intermittent communication type errors or scenarios. I've found jobs that have been running, not on the Smart Multi yet. I haven't had enough, they haven't been out long enough to see, but the 8Cs, the 8C48s, etc. I've found those been running, you know, up and running for 2 years with no addressing on them. So I wish these wouldn't run out of the box if they're not addressed, but just know they have to be addressed, right? Indoor units 1 through 50. Outdoor units 51 through 100. ME controller, if you use this type of controller, you have to put an address on it. And then central controllers. So again, you're stepping into commercial controls on some of this. So it follows some addressing rules and out of this picture right here. So again, addressing needed if we're doing it commercially, this is what it looks like. Don't look at all the other stuff going on here, wiring. We kind of already covered that. Just simply look at the address structure. Outdoor addressing starts at 51. And then our indoor addressing starts at 1 and goes to, I can go to 50, right? So we just put it in order. Then the biggest problem, like I say, is the addressing. Fine, if we know the addressing, but it's putting the switches in the right configuration, and this is where we're seeing the problems of the first digit, second digit scenario. And again, I don't know, a couple ways to look at this. Easiest way for, I mean, I would do it like this. Let's look at it. SWU1, that's the lower switch number. SWU2, that's the higher switch number, right? Plus it says first digit, second digit. That can kind of be a little bit confusing, but SWU1, I know that's my ones. One switch. So I'm going to put that to 1. SW2, which is my higher, you know, digit, that's my 10. So I'm going to put it 5. That's address 51. I mean, you could put a decimal point like right here. That red laser is a decimal point, and then look at this is your 1s and 10s. You can look at it that way too. So whatever makes it easier for you. Here's just talking. So remember the dip switch for auxiliary heat, SW54. That would be it right here. We call these micro dips because you can see they're a lot smaller than these. And this actually looks better if you try to see that with your naked eye. Those ones are tough to see. You need a real fine tip, pointy type of tool to flip those. So again, those are the micro dips. Here's another one down here. So just be aware. Okay, addressing on the indoor units. So again, this is the indoor addressing dial. So of course, we're SW11 here instead of SWU1. So, but it's still SW11 is the lower number. So I know that's my 1s, SW12 is my 10s. And on this dial, it kind of has a 1 and a 10 up there. I can't say, you know, this is an older unit here. I can't say they're always going to have a 1s and 10s on it. Some units do, some don't. But in this case, as SW11 is my 1s, that's set to 2. SW12 is left at 0. That's address 2. Right here, that's right, SW14. So these are actually SW11, SW12, and then SW14. So again, you guys, this is, you're not going to change that switch unless you're installing a city multi system with the BC controller. Again, this equipment is capable of going on a commercial product. That's why it has a branch / port switch setting. So in your case, you're not going to be changing that, leave it 0. Here's remember SW1-1 switch I told you about for sensing temperature at the remote controller. that's the switch you would have to turn on. This one's on in this case. So this one is set to set temperature there. And again, it has a switch. I think that this is default setting to 30 volt. So if you're doing it commercially, you'll want to toggle that to 208. And what I heard, actually just recently, I did hear the difference, why it does make a difference. Actually, it affected the CFM of the blower, is what I had a guy, he brought up a scenario. They're doing an air balance on a system, and they found the switch was set for 230, if I remember right. And it was commercial job, and it affected the CFM output of the blower for the balancing test. So that's where that switch does matter. By how much, I don't remember. Okay, addressing needed residentially. This is what it looks like on the residential side. So outdoor unit, right, you're still 51. Nothing has changed there. Then, so that's just outdoor unit, the same addressing dials apply. Then what we're showing right here, this is the dip switches and the address dials on the branch box. And right, just so the SW1 is a bank of 6 switches, and for the board, the ports you're connected to, those are the ones you have to turn on. In this case, they have those 1, 2, and 3 are on because they have 3 units connected. And then your addressing, right? SW11, SW12 dials, addressing, consider this basically an indoor unit. So addressing starts at 1. So they set SW11 to 1, SW12 is 0, and that gives us an address branch box of 1. Now you don't see that. This is kind of where we do some auto addressing. So when you do a maintenance tool scan on the system with our software and bring up the equipment, you don't see the branch box. What you see is the indoor units. Yeah, Anthony, that's coming up. So yeah, good point. S25. So that'll be coming up here, probably the next slide or two. So again, right here, SW1, so 2 branch boxes. They're what they're doing here, so they can get 5 indoor units on this. They went with 3 here, obviously, and then this is another 3. So they're going to turn on port switches 1 and 2. They're going to address this as 4. Because we can't have overlapping addresses, right? If we put this at 1 and we have 3 units connected to it, next available address is 4. So that's why we're doing that way. I mean, if you want to, okay, let's go back to how everybody was doing it before. Okay, how about I just put this at 55, this at 11, and this at 22? Okay, fair enough. You can, but if you have to register it for any reason, on the residential side, it wouldn't be a problem because you don't have to submit the DSB and the heating test and connected information, etc. But if you installed it as a commercial system and did that address structure, they'd fail it. On this system here, if you want to do it that way, you can, but I would say just try to practice the correct addressing, because this will help and carry it over to the city multi side when you get there, right? Create a habit of doing it right, and then there's no question. So that's what I would say on that. So outdoor unit and branch box addressing. So again, just kind of a review again. So SW1 branch box set to on for each port that you're connected to. Branch box sets the address for the first indoor unit. The other indoor units will assume the next sequential address, right? So that's kind of auto addressing is what it's doing. SW11 and 12, that's the branch box must be addressed, right? I told you that it's basically an indoor unit address, starts at 1. And then your outdoor unit must be addressed from 51 to 100. So that's where you're setting your SW1 and U2 switches. So that's what it looks like there on the outdoor unit, branch box, and the switches. So, and then, yeah, here's the change right here on the dip switch, right? So since we made a smart multi outdoor unit, one product now, and we can install it residentially or commercially, that's where this switch came into play. So to use this, the smart multi unit with an M&P series unit, 2.5 must be set to on. Factory default is set to off. So yeah, it's defaulted for commercial install. So you need to turn that switch on. And again, I think in the install manual, unless they put it in, it's not in there as of yet even. So this is something that, yeah, it kind of like, okay, great. It's how do I know, where do I find this, or I can't find it anywhere. So again, this is something we just have to tell until they make the change, the revision in the manual. Yeah, Dennis, yeah, coming up, tools of the trade. You have to have maintenance tool, 100%. If you don't, everybody doesn't have to have one in the company, but you have to have at least one. So again, that's, and now will the system run if this is not set, the 2-5? Yeah, there's cases of it. It'll run. What we don't know is the effects of it, if it's set all differently. So still, we're trying to get some data on it to see. So again, here's my kind of a blurry picture. I need to clean this picture up. But again, right, just to look at the outdoor unit terminals. So on the Smart Multi outdoor unit, right, here's your L1, L2 power terminals. You're going to have your B1 and B2, right? That is for powering your branch box. And then the M1, M2 terminals, right? Your TB3 is always to the left. It says for communication control cable. On the right for central controller. So TB3 on the left, TB7 on the right. So you guys are always going to be wiring to the left-hand side, usually. So, and again, yes, I would land that shield terminal here. And then this one does have the ring. So this is provided in the install manual paperwork that comes with the outdoor unit. That's your shield terminal that has a connector on it and a ring terminal that you're supposed to ground to chassis ground outside only. So don't ground your indoor, you know, in this case, it'd be branch box. Don't your shield, you can land your shield under that terminal, but don't put this connector on there and don't ground it like that. We do it only in one location. So might as well do it at the outdoor unit. Take all that interference, any interference it does pick up inside the building and transmit it in one location outside, you know, grounding it outside. That's the thinking on it. Okay, just kind of review best practices, you know, tools, you know, stuff needed. So again, evacuation. So again, if you didn't know our pressure testing, right, we're 600 PSI for 24 hours. Should be possible. These jobs with this equipment are usually big enough. They're a 2-day job. So the goal would be, right, you get the system piped and get it under pressure before you leave for the day and you come back the next day. Granted, that will not be 24 hours, but it may be, it's probably going to be every bit of 12. So again, if you can't do the full 24 hours, then, you know, do that same 600 PSI and then soap bubble your fittings down, right, with a leak detectant. That's always worked well. You know, where you can pick up the smallest leak under 600 PSI and let 5 minutes with a solution on it. So that's what I'd recommend for that. So you do that, then you do your, you know, evacuation process, you know, triple evac recommended. And when you do and maintain 500 microns or below for 60 minutes, that's your second. I mean, you pass the pressure test, you pass this test, you should have a leak-free dry system at this point. Okay, fine. Now at this point under vacuum, that's when you're going to add your additional charge, right? Don't open your service valves and then get the charge in there and then you have to run the system to add your charge. You could do it that way, but I would do it this way. Under vacuum, you can get most of your additional charge in there. If you can't, you get as much as you can, and then you're going to have to run the system. And then through our low side charging port, which is directly to the accumulator in heating or cooling mode. So it doesn't matter. You can run in either mode and charge liquid into that port because it hits the accumulator before it goes to the compressor. So you can get the additional refrigerant in running that way. So again, the calculation, this is an install manual. And again, you can do the math by hand if you want to, right? You're gonna have a chart like this based on, okay, here's my liquid piping. If it's quarter, and this is 3/8, is what they're showing here. And based on my model, it'll tell me, okay, here's my factor, 0.21, or it's 0.29 ounces per foot. If this is quarter-inch pipe, liquid piping, you might have a mix, 3/8 liquid piping here. It's going to be on this particular model, the 36 and 48. It's 0.55 ounces per foot. These are, our 5-ton units here. The factors are different. That's what they're showing down here. But you take your quarter-inch piping, your 3/8 piping, and then your total BTUs connected. And they already have this calculation for you. So if it's, if you have 28,000 to 54,000 BTU connected, then it's 88 ounces. So, right, if you guys haven't done the math, that's how you do it. The other option is, that's why we like the Diamond System Builder program, is it can do the math for us. So we build the file, put the piping distances in there, and then you can see down here, it's doing the math for us. It tells us 5.6 pounds additional. So again, this is not, you can see there's no footage in here in the piping. So this is just based on that amount right there already. This is based on the indoor units connected. So I have a 15, a 18, and then another 15. So it's just taking basically the sizing of the coils for the units, right? And it's determining that. So yeah, you're going to always have an adder on these. I mean, it's usually between 5 and 15 pounds additional refrigerant on top of the factory charge. So, which was 10.9, I think, on this one. So. Okay, so collecting startup data. So let's just go through, a proper startup, you want it to go smooth, plan ahead. There's lots of tools available. Come up with your own system, kind of give you some ideas here. So again, pre-start notes, you have to have everything. You got to, stuff has to be written down, your piping distances, etc. So you can enter that stuff into the DSB. And, get this charge in there and get it done quickly. As the correct addressing and port switches, all this stuff is set before we power the system on, right? That's the goal, because you don't want to have to power it down and then go through and set dip switches and come back and power it back on. Each one of those scenarios, can cost you 15 to 30 minutes. So, get a list of the equipment, know what equipment you have, and okay, do I need to set is it a ducted unit? Do I need to set my static airflow? Do I need to set my SW1-1? Do they want to stop the fan? So get all those ahead of time, a plan set together, set ahead of time. So dip switch settings, like I said, power 12 hours minimum, power supply wiring correct. So again, that's more talking right on the, if you're installing it residentially, the electricians are doing the wiring. Before I'm powering the system on, I'm checking their wiring. I trust no one. I would check it yourself. You're responsible if the power, well, unless you make them flip the switch, right, and it smokes. Like power on our M1, M2 terminals at the branch box and the board blows type of scenario. I guess it's on them as long as you let them flip the switch. But again, I would always check their wiring. Condensate pump wiring correct. That's a big one too. If you have an indoor unit, let's say you have 5 units on a branch box and one of them's not working, usually it's a calm air, right? It's not coming on, or it turns on briefly for a minute or 30 seconds and shuts right back off. That's a communication error. So wiring's incorrect, or is there a condensate pump involved? If there is, you better check that. 2 common things. Controller setup, is the MHK2 in a wait period for an extended amount of time, meaning if it's in wait for 5 minutes, that's too long. Unless you just power this unit down. Let's say the unit, the controller was installed and you come and do some work or do something, you power it down, you power the system back on. It can take, I found, between 5 and 10 minutes for the MHK2 to connect back up on its own. So you might see it in wait for that amount of time. But if it's a new install, new setup, let's say 10 minutes, any more than 10 minutes, you better start checking your wiring, addressing, something install related, and make sure you have the correct power to that unit because the controller will not connect up. Documents. So again, mylinkdrive.com. All right, that's our go-to for everything. Extended warranty process. So these are kind of the documents I was talking about. If you're doing this as a commercial project, here's all your tools for the warranty. So extended warranty process. Here's the maintenance tool data submittal process, equipment startup process. There's 3 documents. And those documents are good. They're in color and they have pictures of screenshots of what it looks like. Just a snip, like here's what it looks like. It's the extended warranty process document right here. It is recommended to use this document in combination with this document or the startup process, right? So S-Series extended warranty guide. So here's the items you need. You need the Diamond System Builder file, as-built file that I was showing you, the system information file, the 1-hour test file in heating mode or cooling mode. So again, that's the process for the startup if it's installed commercially. I'm not going to go through the documents in detail because take quite a bit more time. But again, the warranty right here. So City Multi, if that Smart Multi is installed commercially, and standard warranty is a 1 in 7. If you submit it for the extended warranty commercially, it goes to 10 in 10. So it's a big deal that you'll want to do that. And then here's, if it's residentially installed, this is what your warranties are here at this point. Installed single family home by a licensed and approved Diamond contractor, you can get the 12 and 12 on a residential install of a Smart Multi. Okay, tools needed. So again, this is maintenance tool. So the maintenance tool converter, our new pack MN tool is what I call it, maintenance tool converter, and the software, which is free from mylinkdrive.com. So those 2 items plus you need a USB cable also, which is it's like a printer cable on one end and a regular USB on the other. And then you can have a laptop and connect to the system. And this is what the maintenance tool software looks like on the Smart Multi. Actually, this was an older, actually, there's more information you get than this now. This is kind of an older snip of what it looks like. But yeah, so outdoor equipment right here and all our data and thermistors, temperatures and stuff. And then here's our indoor equipment down here. So yeah, we can get a complete snapshot of that system for warranty, for diagnostics, etc. Must have. Best practices. So again, just tools of the trade, right? I mean, it's tubing benders, brazing, if you're going to do brazing or some type of press fitting, right? The zoom lock or whatever you're going to use, the proper regulator to get up to the 600 PSI, purge tool if you're going to do brazing. Again, recovery machine, or actually that's a vacuum pump, and then a computer, right? That the computer is a tool now we need. So Windows-based PC only for the maintenance tool program. And be aware. So again, you start getting into the PVFY air handlers, it's going to be no flare connections on them. I can't say, I think it's still that way. They may be changing to flare eventually, but last I checked, it was still braze. When you get to the City Multi equipment, the PVFY, it's hit and miss. They're not all one way or the other. It's going to be a mix. Like I say, this one is it's going to be a braze fitting or some type of press tool, right? The copper fittings can be just standard pipes and tees as long as they're 700 PSI rated. Doesn't have to be any special type of fittings that Mitsubishi has, but we do have them, right? Like this is off the MyLink drive, and you can see here's some braze type tees right here. If you want to use those, here's flared tees if you want to use flaring. So they're available. And again, guys, that's about all we can cover in 1 hour. if you need more information, again, that's where sign up for our city multi classes and the smart multi class, etc. That's where, you know, we're going through this in detail, or we can spend all day or 2 days on it. So again, guys, if you have questions at this point, go ahead and type them in. If you can unmute yourself, I looked around, I don't think, let me see if I can unmute all, or you can just type it in if you have questions. Yeah, so let's see, Anthony, no, so the branch box does not show up right on the maintenance tool scan. Let me see if I have a picture of what it looks like. So no, I mean, you cannot see the values in there. Well, what you can see right here, I guess, LEV position. So from the outdoor unit, you can see the LEV position of the branch box right here, but you're not going to see like thermistor values or anything. So no. You can connect though at the branch box. So you don't have to, right? That's another thing. It's probably not what you're asking, but you can connect M1, M2 terminals anywhere. Outdoor unit, branch box. If you had a ME controller where it has the ME controllers connect to the MNet, you can actually connect up on a controller also. See the same data. So you don't have to stand outside in the rain, right? This is current right here. So this is a smart, is that a smart multi? Yeah, it is. So that's what the new smart multi looks like, right? So you can see a lot more, much more information here, but we don't necessarily use all this, right? So again, this one here has 2 units connected to the branch box. So LEVs 1 and 2, we'd actually read right here on the outdoor unit with the branch box, or reading the LEV values up here. We don't use the LEVs at the indoor unit. But yeah, this is all you're going to see basically for the branch box. And then here's our thermistors, right, for the indoor units. Which you can, you know, you click on the TH3 and it tells you what it is, right? All these are tabs you can click on to, you know, hey, what's this information mean, etc. You know, operation mode, whatever. So it's changing, it's getting better. The Daikin D checker is a bit better. Hey, don't be throwing those cuss words around here with Daikin stuff. With labeling dashboard, not anything else. Yeah, do they have the, what about the refrigerant circuit, Anthony? So I don't know the Daikin D checker. I mean, the last time I used that was a long time ago, but how about refrigerants? Let's do this. Refrigeration circuit. Now it's only on some units, right? So. Okay, so this tab right here, refrigeration circuit. Now, does your Daikin D checker do that? So yeah, there you go. So again, this is, let's step through it. A couple of minutes here, you can get through it. Right there, it's off, but when it gets on, let's get it running. Here, let's go toward the end. Yeah, right here. So again, it's simulated flow, but so let's look at the compressor right here, right? So discharge temperature coming off the compressor. I mean, eventually I see this programming go in and showing, let's see if you have a restriction somewhere in the system, it can actually show us, you know, a change from superheated vapor to, you know, gas, or a blockage where there was no flow. So, you know, eventually that's where this program could lead. But it actually on the M series equipment, some of the models, it has that refrigerant circuit tab. So again, download the newest maintenance tool from Mylink Drive, and the unit has that. If it has that tab, it's capable of doing it. No, it's not real time. This is a saved file, and it's a snapshot, but it could be live. I mean, every 1 minute. So right up here, see, that's 939 minutes on this file. So at 939 minute, this is what the values look like. So let's see. So look at the T6 here, 70.3. Let me go back 1 minute. Okay, it didn't change. Oh, there it is. So I went back 2 minutes and it's 73. So again, it's a 1 minute snapshot of the value. So yeah, you can monitor files, right? 939 minutes, and then you save the file. And on the offline mode, I can go back and review this whole file. I can, graph it out too. There's lots of things you can do. You can put it in a spreadsheet format, and that's a whole nother class. We could talk about, go in depth on this, but you can graph stuff out so you don't have to look at a lot of minutes of a file. Let's see, hit graph. So yeah, like here's a graphing pattern, right? And then I can just go this, and that's how you can kind of go through a lot of data real quick if you're looking for something. Yeah, updated every minute. So yeah, if you're looking like TH4 discharge temperature on the outdoor unit, hey, I want to see if it's, spiking, getting out of range. So here's my range. It's set for auto right now. So between 170 and 195, and I'm looking for, hey, when did that generate a 1202 air code because of high discharge temperature? Then I can just go through this file, start back at the beginning and step through it. Okay, here I'm at 200, right? So I can just work my way through it and watch the patterns. Let's see, can I turn the thermal fan off on the indoor unit if connected to a smart multi? Yeah, through dip switches. Yeah, you have to do that through a dip switch. And I didn't have it highlighted. Let me go back here. It's actually right down here. Let me blow this up. Let's do it from current slide. Yeah, so note 3, by setting 3-1, 7 or SW1-7, SW1-8 in a certain configuration, the fan can be set to remain stopped during cooling or heating. So it's going to be these dip switches in a configuration that will stop the fan. So like, let's say SW31 on, along with SW7 or 17 and 18. If those are all on, the fan will stop in heating and cooling. So again, without cutting the jumper, now if you're going to installing M series units, right, the MXZ, etc., that's still going to be a jumper to cut. But on the if you're installing it as the Smart Multi as a commercial unit, you're going to be using the PKFY indoor units, and those are going to be dip switch settings to stop the fan, just like this. Yeah, I wish we had all the information in one spot, right? Yeah, I know. I wish maybe on the M series soon we'll be able to do that. I thought through Kumo, actually, I've had it work. I can't say it works on all of them, though. That's the problem. My unit here at home, I have a unit in the garage. It's an MXZ FH model. And through Kumo, I can stop the fan. I've tried it on the FS model at the training center. It didn't work. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's why did it work on the older unit and it didn't work on the new unit. I don't know. So it's capable, I guess, right? So let's see, Kuma will do it. Yes, you have to confirm that on all models because again, I found it hit and miss. That's the problem.